Thank you, Angela and Jordan. You know, after years of debate over, how to get education funded, lawmakers in Olympia have finally come up with this grand plan. Right. However, today, the state superintendent says Washington needs more change to the way it brings in money for education.
Yeah, and of course, this means potential tax changes affecting thousands of people across the state. So we brought in King 5's Ted Land to help make sense out of things,
and it can
pun intended.
Trust me, it can be really confusing for people at home to see all these terms out there. We're really digging into it. It makes us feel kind of like tax experts at the end of the day, because we're learning a lot about this process as well. It's a new system, not what people are used to. So the state superintendent is proposing what's called a capital gains tax. What is that? Well, when you make money on an investment, for example, selling a stock or a bond, the state can tax the profit off of that. In this case, OSPI proposes a capital gains tax of 8% on single filers who make more than $25,000 a year from their investment. Couples would need to make more than $50,000. These are among the highest earners in the state. Now, by OSPI's calculations, this would impact 53,000 households in Washington, and it would generate about $1 billion for the state each year. Under this proposal, OSPI hopes to use half of that new capital gains tax revenue to provide some relief for everyone who's paying property taxes to fund education. The average household in King, Snohomish, and Pierce counties could see a $1,500 drop in their property taxes, but someone else might want to try to get their hands on that money. The property tax break is designed to allow districts to increase levies if they choose, so they can fund various projects in their communities, such as building a new school or creating new programs. The other half of that new capital gains revenue would go to some state education priorities, like increasing funding for special ed, hiring more nurses and school counselors, expanding career and technical education programs and job training. $14 million would go to expanding dual language programs and hiring bilingual teachers. This is only a proposal from the superintendent at this point. Now it's up to the governor, Governor Inslee, to release his own budget proposal. And then in the next legislative session, the House and Senate will debate their own proposals. It's important to note here, Washington State does not have a capital gains tax in place now, so that would be new, and a new process in the legislature. Democrats in the legislature proposed a capital gains tax earlier this year, but it didn't go anywhere. So there's a lot of debate ahead before anything that we just talked about could possibly turn into law. But it's certainly some new ideas about how to fund our education system.
Yeah, that was a great breakdown. So I'm wondering, what are the key, even breaking down that more, what are the key things to take away? So the capital gains tax, if you're making $25,000.
Right, these are people who have pretty significant investments in stocks and bonds and who are selling them to make money.
If you go to cash out, they can tax you on that.
So those are among the higher earners in the state. It's a much smaller number. 53,000 is the number of households they think that impacts. That's a lot lower than all of the people who pay property taxes. So they're really taking one revenue source away from a broader group, putting it into a smaller group, just in a form of a different type of tax.
Very unscientific, of course, but I can't help but wonder if in an area like this, in a state like this, with whether it be Boeing, Amazon, Microsoft, a lot of these places where people have a significant amount of stock, that is a big part of their incentives.
Absolutely, that's something that's happening in a lot of bigger companies these days, part of their compensation plans. But all of this really up for debate in the coming session as these plans advance. Expect a lot of pushback from some people who this impacts.
Sure. But I like how you broke that down. I like those graphics
I hope
a
that was
lot.
helpful.
So, yes, it was very much. Thank you, Ted.